Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Live at the Waterhole. I am back with you. My name is Amy, and I am very excited to see what the Waterholes have in store for us today. We are starting off here in Kenya, East Africa, at Oldonyo Lodge with a beautiful giraffe that hopefully sticks around and doesn't disappear too quickly. Looks like there's quite a few pesky flies around this afternoon, and he's checking out something in the distance. You can just see how that focuses towards his sort of right hand side, or right in front of him, and the ears are tilted forward listening. I'll have to see if something else pops out. But remember that this is a live and interactive show, so please do chat to me. Let me know who you are, where you're watching from. We have a variety of different ways for you to send through those comments and questions. You can do so on the Wild Earth website or the app. You can also chat to us in the YouTube chat stream. You can join the conversation on X using the hashtag WildEarth. Otherwise, you can also use our WhatsApp line where we now have a WhatsApp number that you can add to your phone and then send through your comments and questions using that application. Mercedes, hello, welcome to you. Joanne as well, lovely to have you here. Beans, it is lovely to be at Oldonyo again today, I must say. We didn't spend too much time here yesterday, actually. I think it was a little bit quiet. But today the sun is shining, and hopefully there's more to come. Maybe an elephant or two come to have a drink. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Cerbum, yes, it is wonderful to be at the Waterhole. I'm glad you love being here. We love sharing it with you, and I'm just looking forward to see what we see today. Every day has sort of been, we haven't been sure how it's going to go, but there's been little surprises along the way, whether it's unexpected views of bushbuck that weren't expecting at all, or some beautiful zebras, and the scenery as well is always lovely. Some very pretty little blue purplish flowers that I just spotted quite close to the camera there. I wonder if those aren't blue comelinas. You can see this giraffe's now started ruminating, that bottom jaw moving round and around. So whatever he was looking at, he's no longer concerned about it. Maybe he's worked out exactly what it is. Perhaps another giraffe, perhaps an elephant in the distance. Mindy, you say it's wonderful to see a giraffe. They are your favorite animals. Well, I'm so glad we could share this one with you today. Imani, you also love giraffes. There is something special about them, isn't there? I love seeing them out on drive. I suppose in some areas they become quite common to see, but out here they're not always something that you can guarantee to find on out on a drive. They often, because they don't really hold territories, and even their home ranges can be very large in terms of the areas that they cover. What I've tend to have found it with giraffes is that they sort of stick to an area for a few days and then they head off, and then they stick to another area, and every now and again they might come through an area again, but there's no real pattern that I've been able to find. And so sometimes you have guests on drive and you literally haven't been able to see a giraffe because they haven't been around in the area. And although they are quite a common animal, generally speaking, sometimes even zebras become quite scarce when they want to. Hi Kev, you joining us from Harare in Zimbabwe. Lovely to have you with us. And yes, it is very picturesque, this whole scene, with this giraffe here, the sort of dead tree, and the acacia or umbrella thorn in the background.
My heart is pounding at the moment.
We are here in one of the best places in the world to see tigers.
Step into the heart of Africa from the comfort of your home.
Female leopard tracks over here.
Join our expert guides for a live 3-hour safari where every moment is real, unscripted, and unforgettable. Ask questions.
Animals rely on their senses.
Share your thoughts and be part of the experience as we explore together. Safari Live.
Luna, you'd like to know if giraffes sense when rain is coming. I think it's not only giraffes, to be honest with you, Luna. I think it is animals in general. I'm not sure if certain animals have a higher sensitivity to others. That would actually be such fascinating research to do, and to find out if studies like that have been done. But I do think that animals are far more sensitive to things like approaching rain than us as humans are. And it's something that is very interesting to think about. And I think maybe we would notice more of them being aware of that if it was something like a severe storm, or perhaps whether that's really going to have, it's quite extreme, let me put it that way. When things like earthquakes or even approaching tsunamis or things like that have been witnessed, the dogs running or domestic animals fleeing to higher ground before humans even knew what was happening. Or you think of the research that's done on migratory birds when there are severe storms out at sea or on their migratory routes approaching, and they migrate earlier than normal on years where certain storms hit the areas that they spend their summers in, for example. So those are the sort of little things that I think nature amazes us with, in being able to, if you have it like a sixth sense about, but I think they have whatever it is about them that can pick up on those changes in, whether it's maybe air pressure or temperature or anything like that sort of triggers them to be like, ooh, something's happening here, things need to happen or change. But I suppose in environments like this where we have giraffes, they might know that there's rain coming before we do, but would that change their behavior at all? Rain's not something that they fear or need to find shelter from. But like I say, maybe if there's extreme weather, we might see a difference in their behavior as well. Venus, hi. You want to know, do giraffe make sounds to communicate, or is the communication mostly non-verbal? So this is another very interesting one. And for a long time, it was thought that giraffes are silent. And I suppose to humans, they are very much silent. I have heard them grunt, sneeze, and snort before. So they do have a voice box and they can create sound. And it was a long time until I heard them do those types of things, but they do definitely sort of have those normal little sounds that they make. However, a lot of their communication that is done is nonverbal, because they can see each other quite easily. And if we think of the male giraffes that fight with necking, or if they have chemical indicators to communicate whether a female's in estrus, for example. So those are all sort of non-verbal, as you would have it. But they do use verbal or vocal communication. I don't know if we can term it verbal, since they aren't using words, but definitely do use vocal communication. And this was actually discovered, and it's what I heard from another naturalist, which I found fascinating, is that their research was being done on elephant communication, and they were picking up, I think it was in Namibia, if I'm not mistaken, they were picking up on infrasound. We know elephants communicate with infrasound, And what was happening is that they were picking up other infrasound frequencies that weren't coming from the elephants, and they realized it was coming from the giraffes. So giraffe also make use of infrasound, and I believe at nighttime their humming and communication becomes more audible. I'm not sure exactly why, and I believe more research needs to be done to understand exactly what they are communicating through these infrasonic sounds or very soft humming at night. But they do communicate vocally, which was a relatively new discovery, as giraffes were thought to always be silent. Yes, Lady Macbeth, speaking of migratory birds, that is 100% right, that migratory birds also use the electromagnetic fields of the earth to navigate their way around, which is just mind-boggling. And it's fascinating to read up on exactly how they do that, but apparently it does have to do with particular proteins in their eyes, that they can actually see these magnetic fields, which is amazing. And so using that, it helps them determine where they are and which direction they need to be heading in. But that's also because of that sort of electromagnetic reception that they have. It also means that sometimes they can get a little bit confused with other electromagnetic signals and things that are emitted from the earth, as well as storms that veer them off course. And that's why you get sometimes these odd migrants that get blown in from different areas that you would never normally find in certain places. For example, like a northern carmine bee that was seen in the Manuleti, just next door here where I am, which is incredible, or a Madagascan cuckoo that was seen in the Free State last year, I think it was. So you've got these sort of these types of things that happen, and sometimes it's to do with big storms and winds and things that the birds get blown off course, or sometimes it's the electromagnetic fields that get sort of tampered with, and they sort of head in a direction that they wouldn't normally go in. Well, we are going to head over to Tau and to see what's happening over there.
Become a Wild Earth YouTube member today and unlock extras and bonuses, like ad-free streams so you can stay immersed in your safari without any interruption. Have your burning questions answered first by me or other expert naturalists. Join now to avoid missing out on these amazing benefits. Help us connect people to nature.
Haina nchumo, haina maka. Emavokweni ya milu, haina maka. Lifasila mina ritapela. Zatsemba, utatsamana mina.
Join the Wild Earth Explorers program and connect with a community passionate about wildlife. Support our mission to share authentic wildlife experiences with the world. Your monthly contribution helps provide schools and children access to kids' safaris, fostering a love for nature in the next generation. Embrace the wonders of the bush and make a difference today. Wild Earth, connecting with nature.
It is interesting to note the difference in the animal behavior because of the cooler sort of spell that's coming through at least Southern Africa at the moment, and parts like Madikwe and even in the Lowveld, and the amount of elephants that we've seen. Tembe as well, a lot quieter now that it's cooler, and it just shows how the heat really is the driving factor for elephants coming to these water holes to splash themselves and cool themselves down. We're having a little look around. Perhaps we'll spot a croc as well. They've been very active, well, relatively active. We've seen them quite a bit. out sunning themselves. I think especially with the warmer weather today, though, they might be actually in the water more than out. And also we've had some duck and goose families that we've seen be quite successful this breeding season for them. Quite a lot of white-faced whistling ducks. They're not even really babies anymore, they're sort of juveniles now. And Egyptian geese, goslings as well, that are quite big. France, it's a great question. You ask, why are some days so quiet on reserves? Where do the animals go? Sure, it's I also ask myself that many times, but the weather is a big factor, I would say. If it's too hot, animals tend to not move around very much, making them somewhat difficult to find, especially in the hotter times of the day, of course. If it is pouring with rain, often animals won't do much either, because the rain means that they can't see very well if it's bucketing down. When it's sort of a soft drizzle or just a cooler day, that's actually great for game viewing. And you can have some phenomenal sightings, especially when it comes to predators moving around because of the cooler weather. And they're not so limited in terms of the time that they spend out when it's as cool as possible for them. There's the white-faced whistling ducks, and at least 2 little ones there with mom and dad. And then if it's very windy as well, most of the prey species or plains game, they prefer to sort of stay out, or at least maybe stay more where they don't feel so vulnerable, because their hearing is quite compromised by that. There's a croc in the water on the move. So, France, it's a great question, and the fact of the matter is they're all there. It just sometimes they can't be seen, and they choose to stay in thicker areas, or they're not nearby to roads or places where we can view them from. And so it does seem like sometimes they all take a weekend off, or even just a day off here and there. But I think that's the beauty of game drive and safari, and the fact that there are quiet days. It definitely makes one appreciate the days when it is very busy and lots going on. It's actually cool to see a croc on the move, I must say. We often just see them really sunbathing, not doing much at all. And I think a crocodile's movements in water it's unbelievably smooth, isn't it? They glide, I think, is the best word to describe their movement. And I think it's moving from sort of like these little alcoves to the next little alcove, checking out the scene, seeing if there's any potential for anything to eat, and then moving on, or deciding, okay, this is a good spot to lie in wait. See how it entered there and then stopped, had a look around, and now decided, time to move on. This is so cool. Oh, is it coming to its place of rest? Wow, look at that camouflage, everyone. It really is quite remarkable. It's the perfect blend of sort of olivey green, black and brown all together. Picasso, hi. You are asking a question about color actually as well. How many species of animals would change their color if deprived of their natural food, like flamingos? An exact number of species I wouldn't be able to tell you off the top of my head, but there are plenty, especially when it comes to birds, that rely on their food for the natural sort of pigmentation that allows them to become the colors that they are, especially the carotenoids for colors like oranges and pinks and reds and yellows. This boy or girl's on the move here now. Look at that. I have a feeling this isn't the first time this crocodile's used this spot. Deb, yes, definitely. That tail is somewhat of what we'd refer to as like a rudder, or something to steer and glide through the water, and it's a big part of its ability to be able to swim. You can even see the construction of the scales on the tail there, and the way that they sort of perfectly aligned to glide through the water.
Join Wild Earth Travel on a unique nature adventure in the Greater Kruger Park. Legendary master tracker Renius Mhlongo leads a 4-day animal tracking experience in the Sabi Sand Nature Reserve. This experience offers a life-changing chance to track Africa's iconic animals on foot with a master of his craft. Renius is joined by Wild Earth presenter and expert storyteller Amy Krantz, and together they will connect you to Africa's wild heart.
Become a Wild Earth YouTube member and unlock exclusive bonuses and benefits. Enjoy uninterrupted, ad-free streams so you can stay immersed in nature. Have your burning questions answered first by me or other expert naturalists. Enjoy exclusive access to special broadcasts and videos, and help us to connect people to nature.
Best sighting I've presented, I found myself with wild dogs. We chased the dogs around, chased them around. They ate an impala, we got the end of that. Then another impala went into Gowrie Dam down the road there, and the wild dogs went around. Eventually the impala came close to the bank. One wild dog went and grabbed it and then just pulled it out and just did what wild dogs do. It was an emotional experience, but it was very, very special.
sugar bits, and the only way to really age a croc is by its size. So there's some nice graphic representations of that in terms of, you know, sort of what age you're looking at depending on how many meters it is. And generally when a croc reaches about 4 meters, it's fully grown, or at least for a female. Larger than 4 meters, you're looking at it being a male croc, and that's sort of its mature size as well. And that can be, oh goodness, I think crocs can live many years, so it's very difficult to say exactly, but you can only have an idea from obviously a very young crocodile being maybe a few months old, then sort of getting to, let's say, a meter in length, and you know it's between 1 and 2, and then it gets a little bit longer, and then you know it's sort of between 3 to 5, and then I think the age gaps, the ranges get a bit bigger in terms of whether it's a 10-year plus croc or a 20-year plus croc, depending sort of on its size. But let me just see if I can get an exact sort of age to size number for you. So like I was saying, when it comes to the age, up until about 8 to 10 years, you can sort of have an idea of their age. So anything between, like over a meter, is about 1 to 3 years old. Greater than a meter, but sort of less than 3 meters, you're looking at between sort of 3 to 6. And then about 3 meters, they're heading to 8 years old, and 8 years plus, they almost fully grown. So from then on until the end of their life, being between 50 to 60 years for the Nile crocodile, it's very difficult to say how old they are. Oh, there's a blacksmith lapwing that's being very brave at the moment. Nola, you'd like to know if it's true if crocs are considered dinosaurs. So no, scientifically they wouldn't be grouped as a dinosaur that's sort of living still today. In fact, birds are considered one of the closest relatives to dinosaurs, according to the theory of evolution. When sort of dinosaurs came on their path to be what they are, they do share what's known as a common ancestor with dinosaurs. So they do share features that give them that dinosaur look, which makes sense to me, because they do have this prehistoric look to them. Oh, there's our family of Egyptian geese that I was talking about. They are growing so quickly, I can't believe it. So not a living dinosaur as such, Noda, but definitely related to at some point their paths crossed, and they do have that dinosaurish look to them for sure. Kevin, yes, so you get saltwater crocodiles as well as the Nile crocodile, which is what we're looking at just now, which is based in fresh water. And so they've been able to adapt to both environments and successfully. And I know an example of this is I think Australia has saltwater crocodiles, but also in St. Lucia, which is an estuary in northern KwaZulu-Natal, where the sea meets sort of fresh water, and the crocodiles there have adapted to be able to live in that sort of salty environment, because they would have come down fresh rivers but then have to have adapted to the more salty content of the estuary that's closer to the sea. So it is fascinating to think about, but it is definitely both. Saltwater crocs do exist, and they are able to live in salt environments as well. Gina, that's a great question. Why do we always see Egyptian geese together and not alone? In this particular case, it's because a pair had a lot of babies, and so they've sort of formed their own community, but they are flocking birds. So even in their monogamous pairs for a breeding season, they will flock together, and you'll see them in multitude, all hanging out and defending their mate or whatever from another male or whatever. But like many birds, actually, that tend to flock together in number, could be a safety element to that. More of them, the less likely for them to be sort of chosen out, or picked out, or preyed upon. Well, while we scan around here, let's head over to a bird at Onguma. Oh, what a beautiful view of this grey heron. That is really gorgeous. The sun shining here in Namibia. My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
Join the Wild Earth YouTube Superfan community and unlock a world of additional perks. Get exclusive early access or discounts to Wild Earth travel deals. Wear the best bush attire with merchandising discounts. Enjoy an interactive live monthly private safari. Don't miss out on the ultimate fan experience. Join the YouTube Superfan community today.
Welcome to Safari Spotlight. We'll be
And you pretend like you're a serviceman, eh?
Got no idea what's going on this reserve.
Expecting the unexpected.
Are we stuck down there?
What am I trying to do?
Because we have another giant of Mabula.
That was incredible.
This is unbelievable.
It's going to be a spectacular afternoon.
Wild Earth Travel would like to take you to Namibia and Botswana. Drift over the desert in a hot air balloon, then glide through the lush Okavango Delta in a dugout canoe. This extraordinary journey blends dramatic landscapes with outdoor adventures and unparalleled wildlife encounters. Discover Africa like never before. Book now with Wild Earth Travel, where Africa comes alive.
This heron is just doing the most for us at the moment. Wow. What a sighting. What a relaxing view. Definitely showing off all its angles to us at the moment. Now, Mindy, you asked a great question regarding the saltwater crocodiles and their adaptations to be able to survive in saltwater, and what effect does a saltwater environment actually have on them if they are air breathers, which they are. They don't have gills, they need to come up to breathe to fill their lungs with air. And what difference does the salinity or lack thereof make to the croc? So it all has to do with their electrolyte balance within the body, Mindy. And when it comes to saltwater crocs, they are having a much higher increased level of salt going into their bodies. So their sodium chloride intake is much higher because often they will drink the salt water that they are living in. And just like animals need water to survive, so do crocodiles. And that means that if they don't have an adaptation to be able to filter out the excess sodium, that means that their bodies will be out of balance, and that can have a harmful effect on the crocodile. So what's happened is, Julian, yes, just like seabirds have basically special glands in the nostrils, crocodiles have the same, but it's in their mouth. They are called lingual salt glands, and that allows them to thrive in the saltwater environments in which they live. And it also prevents dehydration, which salt does. I know if I have a very salty dinner or some delicious popcorn with a movie, I sometimes wake up in the night and I need lots of water. And basically that is what will happen to a crocodile, as well as the electrolyte imbalances because of the excess salt. And so those lingual salt glands basically help get rid of that. and so that they can thrive and live in the salty environments without it having a negative effect on them. Looks like there's a wildebeest there in the distance. Why don't we head over to Olifants River and see if there are any giraffes around? Well, it's nice to be back here at Olifants, and you can see these giraffes are busy feeding. You can hear the water running, which is also lovely. Gillian, the wingspan of that grey heron, you're looking at anything from about 1.5 to 2 meters fully across the body, which is quite impressive. They stand about 1 meter high, and so that wingspan is basically double their height. Hudson, I'm not sure how linked that is to your regular sightings of them being in overcast weather, but sometimes there are these small coincidences that do occur. I think giraffes don't mind rainy weather whatsoever. I think most animals actually quite enjoy a bit of a cooler day. It does sometimes mean that we don't see them around the waterholes so much, though, because they don't need to come get water as regularly, especially things like elephants coming to have a pool party. But I think that they enjoy the fact that they can sort of, they don't have to really seek shade. They can go about their day and not have to take too many breaks because they are not losing a lot of energy to heat loss. Well, we do have an elephant arriving, so let's head over to Elephant Pan. Well, I'm so happy to see an Ellie. Hooray! Hello, boy. I think he might head for that trough to get some clean water. You can see there's a bit of an algae bloom here, sort of at this end of the waterhole. He's a little bit curious about these stacked up logs. So, that's not so tasty. I'll get my greens elsewhere, thank you. Dark Mane Lover, you are also happy to see an elephant. I think everyone is quite happy to see this boy coming for something to drink. I'm just giving us a moment to enjoy the sounds here. It's always special when an elephant is drinking.
Join me, Andrew Wistenholm, for an indescribable 6-night stay in the beautiful Albany of the Eastern Cape at Amakhala Game Reserve. Now, this trip is going to be action-packed with a lot of storytelling, adventure, as well as the opportunity to make everlasting memories. We'll be exploring the best of Amakhala by staying at 2 luxury lodges, which will be the perfect blend of comfort as well as wilderness. Book your spot today and let's get ready to explore the wild beauty of Amakhala.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
My full name is Mpho Muthusi Tikani. I grew up in Soweto. My first animal that I filmed, Cedric Dold. Okay, no, wait. My first animal that I filmed, I think it was an impala. Best sighting ever, I would say it was actually this year, 2024. But it was this Cedric when we had Mulwati and TP on a warthog kill. I think we have to cut it.
Can you hear that? The wild is calling.
I do apologize for that, everyone. Hopefully we'll have Elephant Pan back shortly, but for now we can enjoy the sounds of the hippos here at Jackie's. You can definitely see some of the bubbles from them as well, foaming up the water. Spot, you want to know what other animals we can expect to see at Elephant Pan? Well, was it yesterday or the day before? Well, sometime since Monday. We had a beautiful herd of sable there, which was lovely. We've seen giraffe, we've seen hyena, we've seen antelopes, so plenty of animals around to be seen there. There are the hippos coming into view now. Okay, let's head back over to Elephant Pan. Hello, boy. Please hang out with us a little bit longer. You're so beautiful. Hopefully he decides to have a little snooze here. You can see how he's resting his trunk down on the ground now. Often that does mean that he wants to relax. We are going to head over now to Stony Point for some birding. Wow, quite a different scene here all of a sudden with the sun shining in Betty's Bay in the Western Cape of South Africa. And how awesome that we get to include a oceanside location. And some beautiful cormorants here that are busy preening, sorting out their feathers after doing some diving. There's actually one closer to us that's stretched out its wings and drying off a bit. Tace, hello. You'd like to know how fast a giraffe can run? So giraffes are actually quite fast. They can reach a max sort of sprint speed of 60 kilometers per hour, which I believe is 37 miles an hour. And we might look at giraffes as being quite slow animals, but in fact, every step that they take can cover up to 4.5 meters. Because of how tall they are. So when they start running, that increases very quickly how fast they are actually moving. So that's 15 feet in a step, and when it's just leisurely walking, it covers around 16 k's an hour or 10 miles an hour. So I mean, its height is definitely to its advantage in that regard. Earth Lover, it is absolutely like a postcard, isn't it? Just gorgeous. I mean, look at that. The water is so clear today. It almost looks like a tropical island, although don't be fooled. That water is icy, icy cold. Oh, there's a penguin. It's also just enjoying some sunshine. They also spend a lot of time in the cold ocean and come out to dry off. Interesting how it's opening its mouth. It might be getting a little bit too warm, that it's sort of trying to regulate its body heat by opening that mouth a bit. how sweet are these little African penguins. I think it also has to do with the pink around the eye for me. It adds to its sort of sweetness. Shaking its tail differently. It still is definitely wet. It's come out the water recently. I'm giving a moment for its back to dry off. Now I don't know if this is the other half of the pair that's nesting here. It is possible. Julian, I would agree with you. There's definitely a white-breasted cormorant and bank cormorants there. It's a bit far to tell if there were any cape in between, but quite possible as well. That is what I was referring to earlier with the nesting penguins, that only one will incubate at a time. So it's quite possible that the one that we see sunning itself is drying off, getting ready to take over its shift, to allow the other dot to go get some food. Yes, a penguin is definitely a bird. It's part of the Ave class, and taxonomically it falls within that group. It is a flightless bird, one of the few species that we do find in the world that are part of the bird family but do not fly.
Join Wild Earth Travel on a unique nature adventure in the Greater Kruger Park. Legendary master tracker Renius Mhlongo leads a 4-day animal tracking experience in the Sabi Sand Nature Reserve. This experience offers a life-changing chance to track Africa's iconic animals on foot with a master of his craft. Renius is joined by Wild Earth presenter and expert storyteller Amy Krantz, and together they will connect you to Africa's wild heart. South Africa's wild places are closer than you think, because Federal Airlines brings them to you. From the calm of our FedAir lounge to the smooth boarding of our trusted fleet, we take care of the journey so you can enjoy the adventure. Our flights go beyond the ordinary, connecting you to South Africa's most remote and extraordinary locations. Federal Airlines, your gateway to the South African wild.
We are here with a male leopard.
We sometimes also see dassies or rock hyraxes up on these rocks here near the sea, and they can also provide some adorableness for us every now and again. Dark maned lover, it's very difficult to tell penguin sexes apart with regards to the African penguin that we have here at Stony Point. I don't know if there's a way other than perhaps when you see them mating, then you know whoever's on top will be the male, which would be a definite way to tell them apart. I'll check if there's a size difference, a noticeable one, in terms of their weight, and if that's something that one can pick up on when viewing a pair. So the males are bigger than the females, but only by 0.3 kg, so 300 grams heavier. So there's not too much difference in terms of their size, and they look identical to one another. Peter, I know, I was also checking there for the dassies. I know there's so many of you that enjoy watching them here, but they seem, maybe they're out getting something to eat or sunning themselves out of view of the camera. But what a beautiful day here today. Goodness, I mean, look at that weather. There is hardly any wind because of how sort of flat the sea is and glistening. And you say the penguins remind you of an old man in a tuxedo. I mean, fair enough. I think it's sort of the little eyes that are sometimes like half closed and they're waddling around, and they do, like, even newborn babies, I must say, also sometimes look like an old person, older person with their little faces and that sort of thing. It's quite funny what people start to notice, and yes, penguins do also sort of look potentially like an old man in a tuxedo waddling around. Mindy, you've asked a fascinating question regarding penguins as to whether more penguins prefer warmer climates or colder regions. And it's interesting because we generally associate penguins with icy cold weather. But in actual fact, of the 18 species of penguin that we get in the world, 4 are only ones that actually breed or prefer the colder climates. The rest of the species are what you have mentioned there as warm weather penguins. So it's fascinating stuff to think about and to know. Oh, there's a Dussie. Peter, that's just for you. It was it's literally right here now. Here we have a sacred ibis. We've seen it here before, actually. It's nice to see some variety in the animal life around Stony Point. This penguin's going to go for a swim. Just looked like he's dried off, and maybe, I don't know. Can't always understand the way these animals think. Oh, good jump. Keep going, you're nearly there. Oh, hop. Isn't that the cutest thing? Oh, go again. He's going to hop again. Oh, that's so great. They definitely are far more elegant in the water than out. Wildlife lady, no, I don't think the eggs have hatched yet. We saw an adult still sitting, incubating the nest there. It will be soonish though, in the next week or so, I would say. What is that penguin doing? Sometimes I think they just have fun. They're just having a swim. Although I do think it's looking down to see if there's anything there. Pat, yes, the Dussie is another name for the hyrax. It's just sort of a local term that we use for rock hyraxes is Dussies. Did it get out the water there? Or is that a different one? Oh no, it's there. So that is a different penguin. Well, this has been fun spending some time with these penguins. Oh, back in the water. I'm just going to stay a little longer, see what he gets up to, because I think if they spot something, it will be so cool to see them actually dive down and try and grab it. And that's why they sort of breathe and then they look underneath them. Those feet are kicking. And then it almost looks like it blows bubbles. I don't know, that's so fascinating. That is so fascinating. I wonder if it's sort of like, not necessarily preening, but sort of scratching itself there when it turns around its head. I'm not sure. It's doing it again. Maybe something on its flipper that it's sort of scratching or rubbing against.
Join Wild Earth Travel on a unique nature adventure in the Greater Kruger Park. Legendary master tracker Renius Mhlongo leads a 4-day animal tracking experience in the Sabi Sand Nature Reserve. This experience offers a life-changing chance to track Africa's iconic animals on foot with a master of his craft. Renius is joined by Wild Earth presenter and expert storyteller Amy Krantz, and together they will connect you to Africa's wild heart.
My full name is Mpho Tikani. Best part of my job is coming to see nature. Worst part of my job is logging. That's the worst thing ever, because you have to log amount of footage. You sit in front of that computer and yeah, you think of deleting the footage, but no, they need the footage. If I want a camel, probably a soccer player. I know some people don't believe me, but I'm very good, and I'm very fast.
Well, how cute was that? Oh my gosh, I really enjoyed watching this little penguin doing its thing there. Lorraine, I know I cannot wait to see the baby penguins. It's going to be adorable, and how amazing that we have the camera here so that I don't think we'll miss it when it does happen, which is going to be great. I love the little I don't know if you could call it a dance, but the little stretch and then the flick of the tail and the movement of the flippers. It really is so cute to see. And I think the one that we were watching that was sort of, I thought it was actually blowing bubbles, but it looked like it was using its back foot. Oh wow, that one's going off now. Look, when they have purpose to them, it's amazing how they swim through that water so easily. It's incredible. But anyway, that sort of movement we saw, I think he was or she was bending around and scratching around the beak or the face with its foot in the water. Well, this has been so cute, and to actually see the penguins in the water on this perfectly still, calm day has made for some awesome penguin viewing. Definitely my best sighting of them that we've had swimming so far. We are going to now head back over to the Sabi Sands to Nkoro. Well, this is a very peaceful little herd of impalas, all male, and something that we see all year round, but especially now in the rutting season, those males that sort of aren't at age yet to be dominant, or perhaps not as strong yet, need to gather some strength, group together and hang out like we're seeing here. I believe there is a bird of prey around, so we're going to see if we can zoom about and see if we can see it again. That's always exciting to try and spot at the waterhole. And Mika's just telling me now, she's directing the show today, that there was a wild dog seen here earlier today. That's also very exciting. And with the weather that we're having today, it means that things like wild dogs, leopards, lions, hyenas even, are moving about much later into the day than usual. And I think it's only a high of about 22 degrees today. And that is far lower than the normal sort of highs of the low felt at this time of the year. So it definitely allows for that little bit of difference, and meaning that we might see predators active a little bit later on into the day. Ooh, that looks like a bird of prey. Definitely. Looks like a tawny eagle. Isn't that just beautiful? Wow. You can see how heavily set that bill is. Also, by this time of year, the likes of warburgs and spotted eagles would have most likely left and headed back north. But you can just see by the size of it, and like I said, the heaviness of the bill there. It does look to me like a tawny. Spas, I think the chance of seeing ratting impalas live on the Waterhole show is very high. They are not necessarily very secretive about their ratting behavior, so when they do it, it can easily happen on camera. So we have a very good chance in the next sort of probably 4 to 6 weeks that they're going to be ratting for to catch it live.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
Hyenas love bathing.
Deb, you want to know if the other bird sounds are warning calls? No, not necessarily in this regard. I can hear, there could be, I suppose, with the Franklins, if they see that tawny eagle, perhaps as a warning. Can hear some magpie shrikes as well. Those just call to really communicate, and we often hear them calling. But, you know, it's not like that tawny's being bombed by drongos or starlings or things like that. But there's every possibility that that's why they are making quite a noise now. Darkmane lover indeed. Tawny eagles are such beautiful eagles, and I was just sort of looking at them there and trying to say, why did I think that was a tawny? And it is definitely its jizz, which we refer to the general impression of shape and size of a bird. And just looking at that silhouette, I was like, ooh, the beak is basically the same thickness as the entire head when it comes out from the face. And that's one of the key things, as well as lacking a crest. I find a Wahlberg's eagle is a little bit taller in its head because of the crest that sticks up above it. And here the lapwings are also making quite a bit of noise. Ah, it looks like the rain has arrived. Okay, I believe there are some zebras at Simbavati, so let's head over there. So this is a little bit further north than where we just were in the Timavati Game Reserve. And here we have some lovely zebra, very relaxed, feeding in amongst the trees here. Quite a heavy shadow stripe on this group, with some of the plains or Birchall zebras that stripe can be quite faded. And it's amazing, even in this kind of weather, those tails are still flicking from left to right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today here at the Waterhole Show. It has been a little bit quieter, but we still had wonderful sightings throughout. Starting off with that beautiful giraffe, and an elephant did come to drink, even if it was just one. A crocodile, as well as some lovely time with the penguins at Stony Point. That was fantastic. We, of course, will be back tomorrow, so make sure that you come back for another Waterhole show. I will be here once again. And hopefully it's a little bit warmer, a little bit more action around, but still a lovely and relaxing time with you all today. Deb, it's such a pleasure. Thank you for your kind words. I do love doing the show and chatting with you all, sharing what I know, but also learning from you all as well. Remember that in an hour's time, the Sunset Safari will go live right here on Wild Earth as well. So please make sure that you do stay tuned for that. But otherwise, from myself and the team, it's a goodbye for now. We'll see you soon.